ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. We explore all the diverse perspectives and experiences that shape our nation's narrative. I'm your host, Charles King, and today we have a special guest joining us, the talented musician and entrepreneur, Decevio Yiza. Let me tell you a little bit about Decevio. Decevio was born in South Central Los Angeles from a jazz artist and grandfather as a blues artist. He always wanted to become a basketball player. But at the age of 12, his cousin convinced him to start writing poems, and he was getting to hip hop and rap. With no resources and no connections, DeCivio had to made his own way coming out of a humble beginning. Open heart surgery at the age of 3, survived a car crash as a kid, ended up homeless on the street of South Central Los Angeles after quitting his job as a janitor and willing to live his dream to do music. He did not give up, but being booed out on a stage when first showcasing almost brought him to quit his dream and to go back to his old job. But that fortune, tiny sugar packet, it remotely said, "Don't quit, Decevio." That was the sign, and he built up his confidence to go back on stage. And this time around, the audience respected him, and he blew up the place with his charismatic artistry and ability and confidence to rap and flow. That was a lifetime change for him and his career. This led to a strong spiritual relationship to God because the universe made a way. Independent and strong, he produced his own music since 2001, where he saved the money to invest in his own studio, where he is engineering and mastering all on his own. Since then, DeCivio recorded over 1,000 songs on his own. Don't take on a slave master's name of the oppressors, Decevio Yzma. Speak the truth, man of the world, stay real, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Decevio. Welcome to the stage, sir.
Cheers to all everybody. Listen, you guys excuse me, my voice it's a little bit out of it. You know what I mean? Had a bad cold, but I'm fighting. But I'm here, and I'm so humbled by it. I'm gonna thank all the viewers, thank my brother right here, and give God the glory, honor, and praise and thanks for the opportunity to be here on this podcast. And like I said again, excuse the voice, but we're here. We're here to make magic. Cheers.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and I definitely appreciate that. Let's hop into the show here. Uh, to kick things off, could you share with our listeners a bit about your background and journey in the music industry and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Again, as you guys heard, my beginning stages, my humbling stages was starting off with my father and my grandfather. I'm gonna start with my grandfather. My grandfather's a blues talented. He was a lead band member of his band where he played the harmonica and the bass of his band. My father didn't know this man. He didn't get to know this man until the age of 23 years of age. My grandmother gave his last name to her ex-husband that she gave majority of her kids to, even my father. She never gave my grandfather, his name. So that's where the whole name thing comes about.
Mhm.
But my father never knew him. So you know my father did? He searched. He went all about to go look for this man. He asked his mother, which is my grandmother, over again, hey, where is he? Where is this man? I want to know my father. I want to know this man. So my grandmother finally gave him the information. He found this man in South Central Los Angeles. Now, mind you, I'm telling you this story. I wasn't even born yet. I wasn't even thought of. My father didn't even meet my mom at the time. So when my father met this man, he was impressed because of the fact that this man looked like him, looked just like him, seen identical, right? So he knew that this man was a father. But at the same time, my father was a little upset that this man somewhat abandoned him. But it was a different time. You got to understand, it's a different time, and that's not an excuse. But my father, my grandfather, and my grandmother didn't work out. But my father got to know my grandfather, and that's what he realized, that this man was a blues talent. He played blues. He realized it's like, wow, you know what? I did not know that this man, and I inherit his genes taking on the idea of doing music. So as time went on, he had me, had my sister. And as we got a little bit older, I would say by the age of 5 or 6, I got an opportunity to meet my grandfather. And I never forget what this man looked like. He looked like an older version of my father. He was wearing an all white outfit, looked like an all white suit. And he got on that harmonica, my brother. And oh my gosh, this brother ripped it. And I was so impressed. And now I'm 5 years old. I'm a kid. And I was so impressed at that age. And I can see where my father got that from. Now, speaking about my father's a jazz artist. This man is an incredible trumpet player. It still plays to this day. How he got involved with music was his favorite music band of all times, which was the Temptations. Ladies and gentlemen, the Temptations, one of the greatest history of music, R&B, and Motown history, was one of the greatest artists that ever made music was the Temptations, and they influenced my father. My father's also a lead singer of his band, a vocalist, but his main thing is jazz music, influenced by Miles Davis, influenced by the greatest jazz people, Donald Byrd. Let's go on of great heroes in jazz music, especially in the 1920s.
Oh,
My
wow.
father got taught how to be influenced to play jazz by a white man. White man had his own a teaching class and saw potential in my father. My father, he said to my father, "You have potential. If you come back Monday, show me that you can follow after this potential, then I can teach you." And you know what my father did? Showed up that Monday morning and was going at it. And later in his years, as he developed, he became a master of what he do in his craft of doing playing trumpet in his trumpet, I mean his jazz band, and he developed to be as great as he is today. Now, here come his son trailing behind him. Now, mind you, when I first started doing music, or even before the fact of me even deciding to do music, like I said, I wanted to be a basketball player. That was my dream as a child. I was so influenced and relatable to be great players like Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I love these dudes. I used to emulate, especially Magic Johnson. And these guys were my heroes. So as I was playing and developing my skill, I got to junior high school. Now, mind you, I don't want to leave a lot of things out, but one of the main things was when I was in school, I never liked it. Never liked going to school. I used to be very rebellious. Part of the reason why I didn't like school, I like to take this away for the audience and people who listen, because I always say education is important and knowledge is profound to have in your life to be able to have knowing. So that's one of the things that I will always say. But one of the things is like me personally, I didn't like going because of the academic. I didn't like the teachers. I just didn't like being there. But I did like going for the social aspect of it. I like going because my mother always dressed me up in the finest clothes at the time. And I always came in, going to school, looking for my buddies, my boys, playing in recess. I just loved it. But I didn't like the academics. So when the teachers and my coach, when I got to junior high, told me, "Yeah, man, you're not going to play for the team because your grades were very low." And when he told me that, I was devastated. It broke my heart. I was like, "Are you serious? No, please don't tell me that." And they were like, "Yeah." And it was no common sense in my right mind to fight to play by the rules by a school that I didn't even like being there. So since then, I had a cousin that used to gang bang. Okay. I hope the audience can follow me, man, because this is an interesting story. This dude was around the same age as me. Now you gotta understand, in South Central LA is affiliated with gangs. I'm talking about block to street, corner to corner. You gotta be knowing yourself, or even just understanding how this works in terms of surviving in this type of lifestyle. My cousin was involved in gangs, but he also was a rapper. And he was so heavy into it that he was trying to influence me to do the same exact thing, as I was telling him, crying my heart out that I didn't get a chance to play for the team, for the school. He say, man, screw that. Why don't you just do music, man? Get into this music thing. Now, mind you, as I told you before, my father's a jazz artist. My grandfather's a blues artist. I didn't. That's not something that instilled me at the time. Understanding that kind of notion of understanding, like my parent, my grandfather, my father was like that. You know, like I said, my vision was to be a ball player. You know what they call hoop dreams. So hoop dreams is something that I visioned as a child. So when my cousin was telling me, he said, "Look, man, do this music, man. You can really do something with this sort of thing." At the time in music, they had big names like KRS-One, EPMD, all these big names that I was afraid of. I used to be scared of KRS-One. Chris, this guy from Boogie Down Productions, I was afraid of him. Part of the reason because he was highly educated. He always used a lot of these big words as he expressed. So I was thinking, how can you compete with these guys? You can't compete with these dudes. These guys will just destroy you. You know what I mean? But my cousin said the wisest thing. He said, "Look, man, don't worry about that. You just do your very, very, very best about you doing you. Don't worry about the competition, man. You know that? Just do your very best of being you." And I told him, I said, "You really think so, man?" He said, "I know so." So at that time, he influenced me to write songs and write poems. And that's how I got so heavily involved with hip hop in the music. And that's where it started.
Wow,
Yes,
that
sir.
is interesting. But what inspired you though to pursue music?
Good question. I'm loving this. Um, what got me into the music, like I said, was my cousin. He really inspired me starting off. Now, this is the age of 12. So
Mhm.
I felt it. It was like you hear that bug, that bite, that entertainment bug. Well, that's what happened. I got bit by the bug. So instantaneously, I was like, "This is what I want to do." But it took development, because when I start first writing, my first rap song was called "Check Out My Rhymes." My voice, man, if I can get it, but I'm gonna try to say it. It said, "Check out my rhymes, cause I'm so hot. I want to show all the world that I don't stop. I keep going like a motor, don't have no odor. When I sit down, girls lean on my shoulder." That's the first rap that I actually wrote at that age. So I had to develop the
Right.
skill and the technique behind it, but that took years. So to be inspired was the music itself. But my biggest inspiration, believe it or not, was my parents. Because when I got to a certain age, when I was a teenager and when I was young, my mother and my family thought it was cute, me being a rap or doing music or right. They thought, oh, it's cute. But when I turned 19 and decided to want to pursue it as a living, it wasn't cute anymore. It was
Right.
like, yeah, it wasn't cute anymore. It was like, okay, oh, this guy's serious. He's being serious with this. So my mom looked at it like, wait a minute, man, you have a job and you got this job and you need to continue working at this job. And if you don't, this pipe dream, this music dream, or whatever you want to call it, that's obsolete. It doesn't fly in this household. But in my vision, because it starts with a vision. But in my vision, in my mind, I saw it differently. So it was like this or be this janitor. Now, you
Mm.
spoke upon being a janitor. That was the job that I worked for 3 years of my life. And my mother helped me get this job. And it was a summer program job. I got hired to work there permanently. Okay. So I didn't have no necessary reason to graduate from high school because remember I told you I didn't even like school. I
Right.
was in a rush to get out of this place. I was like, yo, yeah, so the graduation, yo, I'm done. I'm out of here. But I had this job. So that summer of that job, I was working. True story. The boss was two Hispanic gentlemen. Okay. They're both my supervisor. And LL Cool J was one of my favorite heroes in hip hop and rap music. I looked up to this dude. Every word he said, I was mesmerized by him. And I never forget in one of his songs, in his lines, he said, "I'm only 18 and I'm making more than your pops. Pops meaning your father." And I saying to myself, this dude just said he makes more than my own father. I was like, man, I need to do this music. I need to do what he does, right? So hypothetically, I'm asking my supervisor, not the co-supervisor, not my main supervisor, the one that hired and fired you. I'm asking my co-supervisor, and I told him, I was like, you know what, man, I'm thinking about doing music. And I asked him, I said, do you think I can make it into something like that? And this is a hypothetical thing. It was not like I was actually going to do it because I had a job, you know. And plus, the biggest thing, I was afraid. I was in fear because it was not afraid about life or people. I was afraid of my mother because I knew if I quit this job, it would have got to her. It would have started World War III, you know. Mhm. So I asked my supervisor and I said, "Do you think I can make it in something like that?" You know, his response was, he
What's
told me
that?
no. He said, no. He said, I think you'll be working here the rest of your life.
Mm.
I'm not kidding you, my bro. It was like a light bulb went on top of my head. I was like, I quit. I quit. And this man thought I was joking. He started laughing. Oh man, you'll be back, man. Stop, man. Get out of here, brother. You'll be back. I said, no, I quit. I'm not coming back here. And it became serious is when I told my other supervisor that does a hiring and firing, told him, and he was like, are you serious? You just got hired to work here permanently. And I was like, yeah, man, I quit. I'm not coming back. He said, sure, the job is yours. Now I'm not coming back. So that's where it started in terms of the destiny of my life that shaped to who I am today from that moment. So where I get the inspiration was my parents because my mother, she was the biggest doubter, not because of the fact that she didn't believe, she just didn't see the vision. She just didn't see the vision that I saw. So because of that, that led her to feel like I couldn't live on the same roof as her unless I abide by her rules by keeping this job. So what other choice I had? This janitor work. It wasn't school because I didn't like school. I didn't have no vision, excuse me, of being a doctor or a lawyer or in a business, those sort of things. You know, I just didn't see it that way for me. You know, all I saw in this vision with this music. So I chose that life. And that's what it started in terms of inspiration and motivation in the beginning.
Oh wow, now, that's fascinating. That is
Thank you.
really fascinating.
Thank you.
Um, how do you navigate the intersection of artistry and business in your career?
The way I do it, I separate the two. I separate business life from my personal life.
Mhm.
Basically, it just that in that simple term. I don't include my personal life with business at all. Like I don't even talk about anything personal. Like if it doesn't pertain to business in terms of what I do in my career choice,
Mhm.
I think I wouldn't even have a conversation about it. You know? So the way I navigate, I just separate the two. When people talk to me business, it's business. If it was personal, it's personal. It's just simple mathematics, you know, 1 + 1 = 2.
Right. So,
Absolutely.
Can you share a memorable moment from your musical journey that significantly impacted you?
Oh my gosh. So many. Let me tell you this story. Oh, you're gonna love this, man. When I first started in the music, remember I told you my mother kicked me out. I didn't have any resources. Ladies and gentlemen, please hear your boy out. This is going to inspire you. I didn't have any resources. I don't know Snoop Dogg. I don't know Dr. Dre. I don't know these dudes, and we from Cali. He from Compton. I'm from South Central LA. Snoop Dogg's from Long Beach. Excuse me. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, please, because you know my voice. Okay. I don't know these guys. I don't know anybody in the music business. Okay. One of the first things I did, I decided to go to every open mic there was in South Central California, Southern Cali. I'm from Pasadena, California, San Bernardino, Los Angeles, Long Beach, Watts, Compton, everywhere you could think of. They had an open mic. I was there. Okay. I was trying to get a name for myself. Okay. So every place I went, I was making a name for myself by performing in front of audiences in front of these open mics. One day, ladies and gentlemen, I had a guy, he was a DJ, famous DJ in LA, famous DJ, especially we talk of Pomona, California. That's considered LA too. It's outside of Los Angeles by maybe an hour, but it's still considered Los Angeles district. Okay. This DJ, I was at his house. He had his DJ equipment and everything. And I remember he had a bad sister. Sister was a baddie. I was like, wow. So anyway, um, as I was with him, I never forget. He was telling me, "Yeah, man, you think you all that? You think you okay?" Because I was ego tripping at the time, man. Because I blew up all these open mics. Everyone knew me. Everybody, I was making a name for myself. He told me about this place in South Central LA where I'm actually from, but this guy wasn't from South Central. This guy was from Pomona. Pomona is still considered LA, as I mentioned. But he was like, "There's this place you should go to, open mic. It's called The Good Life." He said, "Man, you should go to this place, man, because if you think you all that, if you can make it at this place, you can make it anywhere." I was like, "Where the mic and stage at?" This is my way of thinking. I'm gonna blow this place up, man. I was like, where is it at, bro? Like you can't tell me twice. So all right, man. So all right, we'll see. I was like, all right, cool. I go to this place. It was called The Good Life. It was right off of Crenshaw and Exposition. Okay. This place brought a lot of famous people, a lot of West Coast hip hop artists, such as The Far Side, this guy named Skilo. Skilo, he made a song called I Wish I Was a Little Bit Taller. I Wish I Was a Ball. That guy was there. Lots of hip hop acts. A guy named Volume 10, Freestyle Fellowship. A lot of talented people came out of this place from the West Coast. Okay.
Mhm.
I had the heart, the courage. I was like, sign me up. So I go to this place and I went straight up to the place, signed my name. They say, "Hey man, you got to sign your name here, blah, 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 in order to get on stage." Sign my name immediately. I no hesitation, all courage in the world. Going to blow up this place, right? I signed my name, and guess what they did? They had all these acts come up, but they never called my name. Never called me. I'm a street dude. I was like, what? Every place I went, I brought my crew, like boys with me, like cousins and stuff like that. So I go up to the guy. I say, "Hey man, what's up, man? I thought that I was gonna perform, man. What's going on?" And he was like, "Oh no, man. I apologize for that. You go on next week. Come back next week, and you're gonna be the first one to go on stage." I was like, "You sure about that, bro?" He was like, "Yeah, yeah, for sure." So the next week comes. We was ready, just like I am now, ready. Get up on stage. And I brought my cousin with me. My cousin, he's with me. I asked him to be like a hype man type of thing.
Right.
So I'm performing my song. I didn't even get halfway through the song, my brother Dr. King, without them booing me. They
Oh, wow.
booed the living shit out of me on stage. And I didn't notice it at first. My cousin noticed it. He on stage with me. They turned the mic off. Turned the microphones off. And I didn't know my microphones off. I'm still rocking, going with it. And I looked to my peripheral vision and I'm looking, and my cousin just stood there like this. And I was kind of mad, like, he knew better because I talked to him, I was grooming him before we practiced. You know what I mean? Before we got, so he knew better. And he was like, D. He always called me D, Decevio D. He was like, D, that bro. He was like, they cut your mic off, man. And I was like, soon as I realized, and he telling me that, they booed us. Boo! Hey, they used to do this thing. Hey ho, hey ho's out of the stage, right? Man, the walk of shame. We had to walk through people to get to the outside, man. I'm not capping you, man. When I walked outside, we got to the front. I cried like a kid, like a little bitch. I just cried like a baby. And part of the reason I didn't cry in front of these dudes because all these people, but I cried when we got outside. Part of the reason why I cried wasn't because I got booed. It was because I chose this life. You know, you gotta imagine, I got kicked out. My mother put me out. I'm living on the streets at the time. I'm living homeless. As I was going to this open mic place, I'm homeless at the time. So I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, dude, like I just got booed, man, you know? And I remember as I was crying, I was like, I quit. I quit this music. I'm not, I'm done. Like it's just not meant for me. So that same exact state, true story. I want the audience to follow me here. The same day, this is the same exact day, my cousin and I was together, and we drove to a hamburger stand place. The same day we get booed, right? And as we in this hamburger stage, my cousin was sitting across me, and you know we eating our food, we talking, and he actually said he always called me, as I mentioned, he calls me D. He said, D, man, so what you gonna do now, man? And I was like, I'm gonna go back to my mother's and beg for my life back and go get my job. Because mind you, remember I said a moment ago, the job was still mine. All I had to do was just contact the guy and say, can I get my job back? But as I was saying that, I looked to my right. And as I looked to my right, there was a sugar. And it was like, you know how you got these fortune cookie things and stuff like that. Now, this wasn't a fortune cookie, but it was something like that. So I looked at it and I flipped it over. And what it said on the back was mesmerizing to me. What it said, don't quit. Now, mind you, I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't have a relationship with the universe. I don't know anything about that. But for some odd reason, I took this as a sign. And I'm telling my cousin, I was like, man, look at this dude. This thing just told me not to quit. It, almost as if it just knew what it just happened. Because mind you, this happened the same day.
Right.
I'm like, this thing said, don't quit. I told my cousin, no, man, I'm not going back to him. Because one thing I am not is a quitter. I don't quit. I win. And that's how I project myself, even at that age. So I told my cousin, I said, bro, I'm going back to this good life place. I'm going back to this place. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna find out what we go wrong. Why did we get booed like that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I went back. I went back. And as I went back, you know what I did? I studied the place. I studied. I always tell people, study, learn, experience, substance, grow, evolve, learn, man. That's important. I went back and I studied. And every time I went back to this place, every time, mind you, I was still afraid to get in front of people. But the owner of the place, give it all love and shout out to this woman. Her name is Miss B. Hall. I know her name now, but at that time, I didn't even know who she was. But what I did know, she was the owner of the good life. She always kept it positive, all for all black people, all nation of people, but mostly black people that went to this place and kept the culture and substance and positive. You wouldn't even allow to use profanity in this place. She kept coming up to me week after week, and I kid you not, begging me to host a place. Now, I turned her down every time. Part of the reason why I turned her down because I was afraid. I was scared to get back on stage because these people booed me. So she's coming to me doing exactly like this. Please, 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 could you host the place? And I would tell her no. I had my boys come with me every week, and I remember asking them like, what? She kept singling me out every time, and I've been thinking in my head like, what the what? She keep coming to me. Of all these people in this place, why me? Like, why she keep coming to me? I'm telling my boys like, man, you see this, man? Like, what? Every week, and I would tell her no. No, sometimes I would try to dodge her. I would try to dodge her because she would always try to sing me out. And every time I try to dodge, she always find me. Like I'll turn around and here she is right there. And I'm like, she'd be like, please, could you host? I would tell her no. Till one day, ladies and gentlemen, your boy got the courage. At this time, I was homeless. My life and my family disowned me. My life was bad. It was like a cat against a wall. At this time, I grew balls. I grew courage. I was like, I don't care who it is. I don't give a F who watching. I'm good at this rap thing. So at this time, I built the courage and I got back on stage. And I'm not playing with you. I get up on this microphone and I blew up. The whole place erupted. They went ape. Oh my God. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I get the heart, the courage to get up on stage, and I'm saying to myself, what? These are the same people that booed me. And now they're cheering for me. Right? And
Mhm.
right when I finished blowing up the place, guess who comes up to me?
Oh,
Miss B Hall.
oh
Would
wow.
you please come up and host her? And I told her yes. So at that time, I had the courage. Mind you, picture the vision I'm telling you here. I got booed off this stage, came back, ripped it, blew it up, and out hosting the place. You can't tell me that God isn't so good. That isn't a God. There is a God because of the fact that of anything that you can see that you consider an impossibility, that was proven fact of a possibility. That's part of the reason why I continue doing what I love to do, because I believe in the impossibility. That's the inspiration. That should be the impact. That's inspiring itself. That led to me who I am today. That shaped my destiny from that moment. Imagine if I quit. What if I didn't believe in stuff like that? Like seeing sugar and said that don't quit. I could have ignored that. I could say, I'm going back to get my job. You know what would have happened? I wouldn't be sitting here with you today, my brother. I
Yeah.
wouldn't, a lot of people wouldn't even know who Decevio Yamiza is. They wouldn't even know who I am, period. But the fact that I decided to take this sugar, then it said don't quit, and decided to build my balls and courage to go back to this place, shuts everything up at the end of the day. So that's the living story that I hope inspires most people who are viewing and listening to this.
Oh wow. That that's truly, truly intervention if ever there is a such. Because
Yes.
having that will to not quit and to keep going. I'm so I mean that right there in itself, I mean, that just says a whole lot, especially thinking of, when you're saying you're homeless at this
Yeah.
time. And so you've got to make it happen and
Yes.
you just believed in yourself.
Absolutely. And that's what it takes. It takes you believing yourself. It takes you just a leap of faith. Just that one little leap of faith. And I can turn into something. I mean, I got booed off stage. You know what I'm saying? And it led me to cry, to make me want to quit and give up entirely. But the fact I saw this little sugar that said, don't quit the exact same day, that tells you this is not coincidence, my brother. This is all purpose, brother. This is all meant to happen. See how that works? It's
Yes,
just a
it does.
possibility, my friend.
So, how do you balance your passion for music with your entrepreneurial pursuits?
That's another good question. What I would tell the audience is know the difference, man. In terms of, like I mentioned before, your personal and business. Like when I do music, I keep music, and I do business. But sometimes I include the both because it might pertain to business. Um, as me just being as an entrepreneur, talking business, such as something pertaining to my career choice. So everything, I would say to this, it can collaborate in the sense of working together in a business sense, or I separate it from my personal. And when it comes to dealing with my personal, I don't even include business. But as an entrepreneur, it just has a lot to do if it pertains to music, or me doing my merchandise business, or me doing stocks or whatever. It just pertaining to that in itself. So I would say that much. The way I balance it, um, I just separate everything. Like when I'm doing my merchandise business, that's my merchandise business. When I'm doing music, I conduct music. When I'm dealing with stocks, I'm just dealing with stocks. So that's I do. Even me running and owning my studio, same thing. If I'm charging different artists in studio time, and they come to my studio, then it's pertaining to business and that such, but pertaining it for that reason and as such. So that's I do it, if that makes any sense. I just basically um, separate every business for whatever reason, but that reason could be pertaining to that reason as such, pertaining to whatever I'm doing business with, if that makes sense. So yeah,
So would that say that you're layering everything? So everything is just in layers and tiers,
yeah.
and
What
that's
like it,
how you pretty much
it,
separate and make it work?
it's basically like you just said, balance. It's
Mhm,
balance. I'm balancing it. I'm
mhm,
balancing my merchandise business. I'm balancing my stock business. I'm balancing my studio business, and I'm balancing music. So it's just basically balancing. That's
mhm.
that's. I hope that answers the question.
Yes,
But
sir.
yeah, mhm,
So now this, I know your fans that follow you,
mhm.
because you've got a big following.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I'm sure that they would love to know and understand what challenges have you faced in building your career, both in music and entrepreneurship, and how did you overcome them?
It became a challenge from the moment I left my mother's house. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I left my mother, you hear the story of me, what happened in the good life. It became a challenge as soon as I left. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But what it's about is overcoming the challenges. That's
Right.
what it's about. Is overcoming the challenges. When they talk about failure, oh
Mhm,
yeah, failure happens to those who feel like as if they want to quit and give up.
mhm,
But you never quit, and you just learn from those failures, and that's how you become a better version of yourself, by evolving. So
mhm,
everything in my mind, I always set out for something, but it foils.
mhm.
It might foil. It might, like, I had so many experiences that foiled, that I thought that would be my time.
Okay.
And it never turned out that way. It just turned out to be a foil. But what it was a learning experience. And
Mhm.
it helped me evolve to be the better version of myself. And it helped my brand. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
that's the evolution. It's just overcoming the obstacles, the adversaries. It's like right now, my voice is effed up as I don't know what, but guess what? I'm still here. I'm not
Yes,
gonna let
sir.
this be an excuse for me to say, you know what, man, I got caught, man. I'm not gonna fuck that. No, I'm going to be here. Rather my voice sound as scratchy it is. But guess
Mhm,
what? I don't make excuses. I
mhm.
overcome these challenges, no matter what the devil throw at me, or even
So
God. Uh-huh.
tell us this. What are some of those things that you learned?
Oh my gosh. This is part of my evolution of me being a better version of myself, or being a greater version of myself.
Mhm,
Is that failure, when it comes to failure, it's really an illusion. It really is. All it is just a learning experience. It's no
mhm,
really such thing of failure. That's
mhm,
what I learned. You know, that it's all evolution. It was a part of my growth. So it's about growth, my brother. It's about evolving, being a better version of yourself, and getting to that full potential.
mhm,
So everything that I so called, quote unquote, failed, it wasn't a failure. It was just me learning about those experiences to help me be the person I am today. So I hope that answered your question, my brother.
Yes, sir. That was a wonderful answer, and I definitely appreciate that because that actually goes to the core. And
Yes,
that means that if anything that you can take from this experience, this is basically about, it's another version, I'll call it, of OJT. And
right.
that is, when you were as young as you were, where you were out there trying to make it, the way you had to make it happen. I mean, it seems like despite the difficulties, the lack of resources, you found a way and you stayed strong. And when you
Absolutely.
find a way and you stay strong, you always break through. That's the thing I think we should all appreciate most about this whole thing. And I
And you
definitely,
know what? And you know also with that it's called that's called willpower.
yes,
That's
sir.
called willpower. That's
Yes.
all it took. It took willpower. I was driven. I was
Mhm.
determined. I had willpower. If you have willpower, there's no stopping you. The
Right.
universe makes it a way for the whatever everything you can speak into the existence will become a reality.
Right.
Let me tell you another story. And this is something pertaining to when we're talking about willpower.
Hmm.
I never forget, I didn't know anybody with a recording studio. Remember, I didn't have no resources. After the time that I got in front of audience and performed, I realized one of the reasons why I did it is because I thought at that time that I would get discovered. Because
Hmm.
Chris Cross and all these other rappers, they walking down the street in the mall, they get discovered. So I'm thinking to myself at that time, well, maybe somebody would discover me. So if I get in front of an audience and I showcase my talent, maybe I will get discovered. It didn't work that way. So the next step for me was to find a studio. I said, okay, I don't know anybody in recording studio. So I remember I had an ex-girlfriend that I was seeing at the time. And I used to always tell her, man, I really want to get a recording studio, but I don't know anybody recording studio. And I never met anybody. The only person I ever met was the time I recorded my first song and I was in high school, right?
Hmm.
It was a Hispanic gentleman. He comes right up to me as I was one of those schoolyard kids. I was performing in schoolyard, all the kids grabbing around me and things like that. So this Hispanic gentleman, he comes up to me. He says, "Hey man, you're good. I have a recording studio, my man. Would you want to record a song?" I said, "Hell yeah." And he's like, "Yeah." He said it was out in out where he lived. And I
Right.
never forget a buddy of mine, he rapped too. And
Right.
that's why I understand how jealous he come about because he was mad that the dude didn't ask him. But the guy was never around because he played football. He was playing for the school football team. I didn't like sports. I mean, only sport I liked was basketball. But when I got into music, sports was a done day. So all I did was rap and do music. So I was always in the schoolyard having these kids surround me. So he
Hmm.
comes up to me, and part of the reason why I asked the other rapper guy is because he had a car. He
Right.
knew he knew how to drive a car. I was walking. I was a teenager. I didn't have no car. So he was like, "Okay, man, I take you to this guy." So he takes me there, and I reported my first song, which is called Mastermind, and I have that song till this day on
Oh,
cassette
wow.
tape. On cassette tape, the one song on cassette tape, and I still have it to this day. That was the only time I experienced, besides the time of the if people didn't see the last um, interview that we had when I shared about Billy D. Williams. And that's another thing I want to tell people about Billy D. Williams, his son, Corey Williams. Billy D. Williams, for those who don't know, was a guy from Star Wars. Because I didn't mention that the last time. I wanted people to know he played Lando Calrissian, was the first black character in that story movie. So those who follow would know who Lando Calrissian is, who follow Star Wars, they would know who Billy D. Williams is and his son Corey Williams. And that was the first experience of me going inside a studio through Corey Williams when I told you I didn't record, but my cousin recorded, and he gave him $500 for one song. Now, fast forward to me, so my first song was Mastermind for Spanish to me. Now, the reason why I didn't go back to this guy, because I got expelled and kicked out of school.
Oh,
So I get
wow.
kicked out of school. I never seen none of those guys again.
Oh,
So when I got on my own, and as I was telling my ex-girlfriend, man, I want a studio. Speaking this into the universe. This is the conversation we've on, speaking to this universe. One day I wasn't around my ex-girlfriend, and this guy comes up to my ex-girlfriend and asks my ex-girlfriend, "Hey, do you sing? Because my ex-girlfriend was a model. She was at modeling things. But even if you was to look at her, he would think she probably into singing or something like that, you know? So he asked me, are you singing? He said, because I got a studio and I was wondering, I'm looking for artists to come and record me. And she was like, no, I don't sing, but my boyfriend, he raps, he does music. And he
Oh,
was like, well, can you, now mind you, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I hate to tell on our ages because this is age shit, you know, it's just like, wow, I hate to tell on our age, but this was before cell phones. This is back in the pager era. You know what I'm saying? This is like before cell, because if it was a cell phone, they would have got the phone, blah, 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 called me right there and there. But this is
right,
before cell phone. So people watching, they probably thinking, what? But this is before cell phone. So I want people to know this is a 90s thing, you know?
yeah,
Like I tell telling people age and stuff like that, but doing music. But anyway, as I'm telling the story, my ex-girlfriend, she comes back to me and tells me about this guy. Oh, I ran into this guy and he has a studio and he wants you to record on him. And I really, well, where's his number? I didn't get it. She
oh,
did not get the man's number, ladies and gentlemen, and all the viewers. She didn't even get this guy's number. So I was like, you know, I want a studio and you know, I want to record and you didn't get his number. Say, she totally wasn't thinking. This is how the universe and God works. Me and my ex-girlfriend was together. She lived in Long Beach at the time. And I used to hang in Long Beach a lot. This is, people don't know Long Beach. That's where Snoop Dogg is from. East side of Long Beach. Okay. I'm in west side of Long Beach with my ex-girlfriend. And we were, if I can remember, we were at a post office, something like that. And the studio guy was right there at the same point. And she kept saying, my ex-girlfriend, she's telling me, that's the guy. That's the guy I was telling you. So she gets out of my car and she goes up to the guy. That's my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. So he comes up right on the side of my car when I'm on the driver's side. I roll my window down. He say, hey, man, it's nice. He put six sand in my window. He said, hey, man, it's nice to meet you. I have a studio and I'm looking for talent. And I was wondering if you like, and he didn't even have to tell me twice. I was like, brother, I'm there. He said, come that Monday. And just like I am now, I was like that then, coming
right.
prepared. And I came with this records that my grandfather, and remember, my father, all of them all had these old, what do you call it? Vinyl records,
Right.
vinyl.
Oh,
So I used to listen to all these records. I mean, that's how I learned about Johnny Watson Jr. You know, I used to listen, you know, I mean, his
I mean,
music and
it's all
all
Watson.
that. Yes, yes, sir. I mean, all these guys, Stevie Wonder, man, I used to listen to all these records because of my father and my stepfather and my grandfather, all these people listening kind of music. So I'm not gonna lie, I used to sneak and take the because they was at this time CDs was coming in, you know, CDs and stuff. So nobody was, so they put all these cracker records in the back.
Mm,
But I still was jamming to the records. So I would take the cracker records and I already knew what I wanted to sample and what I wanted to use as productions because I was a visionary. I always been a vision. I always knew like, so I remember Stevie Wonder, he had on one of his albums. Oh my gosh, he had so many great albums. But one of his albums, he had this one track which all sounded like instrumentation.
I
And he
think that
had
was
this
Hotter
groove.
Than July album.
What's the album?
I think that was the Hotter Than July album.
It might have been, but it was the one with the orange face, and it's a face in front of it. It's
Yes.
that one. Yeah. So he had this groove sound that went dun 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 dun. I wanted to use that so badly. And this
Mhm.
guy that had the studio, he was a producer as well. So I came with the vision and I told him what I wanted the song, what the song to be like. Man, we went in this studio and I probably recorded 50 different songs. Just was
Mhm.
knocking them out left and right.
Right.
Right. And thanks to this guy, I never forget his name. He was from Long Beach. Actually, he was originally from St. Louis, but he came and lived in California and was living in Long Beach, California. And this guy name was Robert, and I used to
Oh,
call him Cosmo. It was a nickname that I gave him. And I never forget, he had all these records, and I was brought to him, and he produced the tracks. and we recorded it. And I took every last song as a demo. And I knew this girl that was a model that was trying to get out there in the music, in the entertainment industry. And she knew in Hollywood all the famous places to go to in Hollywood in the industry. So industry parties, all this. She just asked me to go, but I was one with the car. Because remember, I was living in my car. I was homeless. So I
Mhm.
had a car. She didn't. So she was like, we both were the same thing. She used to always use this word that I wasn't familiar to at the time because I was so young. And the word was networking. She said, always say, Decevio, you got to learn the network. Network. I'm thinking, what the hell? What does that mean? Network. Like all I did was follow her lead. I was always in instantaneously picking up on things like that. Like right off the back, like, okay, I'm just gonna follow her lead. So I saw what she was doing, mingling with people. I do the same thing. It led me to go shopping in Hollywood with the demo in hand to all
Mhm.
these record companies. That's why another word that I didn't know about that I didn't understand was unsolicited. Unsolicited demos. They wouldn't take it. They would not take now. I'm knocking at. I'm at Capitol Records. I'm at all these major labels in Hollywood, knocking on their doors. Sometimes I was always clever. Always worked as a genius. Always used my mouthpiece. Knew how to talk my way into things. I used to
Mhm.
talk my way into these record companies. I used to make up stories saying things like, you know what? I met you at a party. And they'd be like, really? And I'll be like, yeah, man. And you told me to come down on a demo and meet her. And I'm meeting these A&Rs at these records. I'm not making this stuff up, man. I'll sit there, con my way into these bits and these labels. And they believe me. And
Mhm.
I remember every time they would tell me, we'll get back to you or throw the demo away or something. But one record company actually sat down with me, and it was Loud Records. Now, those who don't know what Loud Record is a hip hop record label. Have all the one of the best groups, which is Wu-Tang Clan, the Alcoholics, Exhibit. All
Mhm.
these famous rap dudes came out of this label, and they sat down with your boy, and I
Mhm.
couldn't believe it. This was a dream, and I
Mhm.
had the demo. And I never forget, I sat down with one of the A&R dudes in his little cubicle. And I never forget, he's nodding his head, turning his head to my songs that I recorded with the gentleman from Long Beach. That I tell you, man, Robert.
Mhm.
And as he's listening to it, one song struck a chord with him. And I
Mhm.
never forget, it was a song that I read. I don't have this music no more. All that stuff was old. So I lost them. I would be homeless. I lost a lot of old music. And there's a song I made called Pass the Salt. And I never forget in the song, I said where he was from in the song Pasadena. And I never forget he was from Pasadena and not knowing it. So he really liked it. But at the same time, I never forget what he told me. He said, your music is really good, man. But you know what, man? This is what he's telling me. He said, you're not ready. He said, you're not ready though, man. Your music is good, but you're not ready. He said, I you need to go write more. But I'm
Mhm.
glad at my age now and my experience and when I'm at today, I'm glad what he said by telling me to write, and it wasn't my time because everything's timing. But going back at that time, being as young as I was pissed. I was pissed at this dude, man. Yeah, I was pissed. I was like, what? Right, man, I'm ready now. You know, you naive like at that time. I
Right.
wasn't even Decevio Yamiza at the time. I didn't go by my name. I was a
Uh-huh.
different name. See,
Mhm.
see that? But he somehow reason he knew,
Right.
but I didn't know.
Mhm.
Okay. So at that time, I come to understood at this day and age, yeah, okay, yeah, that I wasn't ready. But this
Mhm.
guy was so kind at the time. He said, you know what? I'm going to introduce you to a manager and I'm gonna connect you with a woman. He said, I'm gonna connect you with her and she's gonna help you develop. And I was just like, okay, cool. So I met up with her. And what she did was she hooked me up and booked me a lot of underground shows. So I was performing a lot, doing a lot of shows. And then I eventually lost contact with her. Part of the reason, she was a very beautiful woman. She's very pretty. But I remember she had a boyfriend. And mind you, remember, I'm homeless. And I remember she asked me to meet her places. And I remember she asked me to meet her and her boyfriend for some kind of her telling me about another show to do. Make a long story short, the boyfriend took a look at a dude and she was like, "This is your artist?" And she was like, "Yeah, this is the guy I was telling you about." I'm not like, you know how some guys get jealous and envy. He looked at me, he was like, "Oh, hell no." He must thought I was going to steal his girl or something away from him or something like that, you know. But remember, I separate business from personal. But he didn't know that. He's thinking like, you know, this dude gonna steal my girl. So I never forget. I got a call from her, and she said, "I can't be your manager no more." And I'm like, "What? Why?" Boyfriend,
Mhm.
boyfriend. Yeah. So
Right.
since then, that's the name of the story of the evolution of that of the studio. Yes.
So, could you describe your creative process when composing music or working on entrepreneurial projects?
Man, I'm loving these questions. Oh, I'm loving them. Oh, let me get a good sip here. Mm. My creative process, I always say music is spiritual to me. Let me say that again. Music is spiritual to me. It's from the heart and soul. Most of these people, they don't understand that. They don't get it. Music and I always say my words and my upbringing of bringing out these words is my instrument. My vocals, my lyricism, those are my instruments to life. It's what I give to the world. Me coming up with this spiritual type of connection, that ain't nothing but God. I never question the pen when I write songs. And a lot of times I don't even write songs. The music and the words come out naturally because I never question the pen. I have a killer instinct. When I mean by killer instinct, I trust my instinct. I have a sharp instinct. My instinct right off the bat, as soon as I hear the sound, it flows out naturally. So I never question. So half the times when the song in a final cut and it's finished and it's already released, I'm tripping off myself half the stuff I'm even saying. I'm almost like anybody else is a critic. Listen to my own words or listen to my own music. I'm saying, I said that. What? That what? I'm just like anybody else. When you listen to my own music or listen to my own words, I'm like, I can't believe I said that. But see, that goes to show that music is bigger than you. It's
Mhm.
bigger than anybody if they understand that. See, I come to understand to know that. But most people, they just in it for the bag, which is the money. They're in it for the material. See, that separates I always say it separates the men from the boys. It's just more like the guys that understand what art is and music is. They're going to trust their instinct. So I trust God and I trust my spiritual instinct to let the music take over. As far as the production is concerned, I got a good ear for music. You got to remember, my father's a jazz artist.
Mhm.
My grandfather's a blues artist. Music is embedded in me. I'm picky when it comes to making production or music that get sent to me, or we coming up with production ideas, creating music. I'm picky when it comes to that because you got to understand the lyrics and the music becomes a marriage.
Mhm.
They become one. So because of that, man, it has to have some type of substance of how you're going to create this type of masterpiece. So
Mhm.
for me to create this masterpiece, it's dissecting, diagnosing, and coming up with all these creative things. Like, yep, this, what, yep, that. And next thing you know, you got a masterpiece. That's how I do my creative process. It don't take much. I'm sharp at what I do. I've been doing it since I was 12. I could close my eyes and just vision and words just come out, and there it is.
Wow.
Yes,
Can
sir.
let's turn to your cultural influences. How has your upbringing influenced your approach to both music and entrepreneurship?
Okay, what's the last thing you said? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said, how has your upbringing influenced your approach to both music and entrepreneurship?
It's a story of my life. It's kind of like the soundtrack of my life into the other people's life who listening. Those who listen and follow my music, I am a part of your experience. I'm a part of your soundtrack to your life. When I give you the gift of giving, which is music, I'm a part of your experience. One of these songs I create can be one of those songs that are part of your life experience. Music can take you to so many memorial memories. You always can remember what you were doing at that time when you listen to a certain particular song. You
Mhm.
can remember what you was up to because
Right.
that song might have been playing at that time, what you were going through. So
Mhm.
that's what music is to me. It's a soundtrack to the people's lives. That's what my music is. Whatever song a lot of people like my song One Day. I got a song called One Day, which is a great song. It's about life. But a lot of people tell me, man, that song is so heartfelt, but it touched them and it's a part of their experience from whatever they was in their life, and they remember that song. So that's one of the coolest gifts that I think is so awesome about creating music and being a part of music. It's an experience, being a part in the soundtrack of people's lives. So that's where that comes from, my brother.
Okay, given your diverse background, are there any specific cultural or familiar of family influences that have shaped your artistic and business philosophies?
My father, for sure, my grandfather. I'm gonna take you back when I was telling you about my father. When I was a kid, he used to take me to his rehearsal studios. And as I said in that last message, I used to get on the congos, jam it to the congos, and my dad would be rehearsing, playing with his band, getting
Mhm.
high, getting into it. But his other sounds coming from somewhere. They all stopping in the middle. Wait, stop. Where's this other sound coming from? They ain't even know it's my son is playing the congos in the background. It wasn't until my father caught me. Man, what you doing, man? You can't be doing stuff like that, not in a rehearsal, man. Blah, blah. But that's what it took to understand, even for my own father. He knew that his son had something.
Right.
He had this talent. So to shape me for my family and me telling my story is from starting from my father. Being he's a jazz artist and my grandfather is a blues artist.
Mhm.
Inheriting their genes and watching them. It shaped me to who I am as an artist, as a lyricist, and even as a storyteller. See, that's one thing I love about music, about telling these stories. That if you listen to a lot of my music, the way I reflect and how I tell these stories, the bad and good. I always tell people, life comes at you like this: bad and good, good and bad. It's about finding the good out of the bad and
Mhm.
turning that negative to a positive.
Mhm.
And when I saw that in that light, that gave me the substance to understand where it all started from. And
Mhm.
it started from people like my father and my
Mhm.
grandfather, where he got his genes and it genetically passed through him, through me.
Mhm.
See what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's where it shaped from. All that shaped from my father.
Okay. That's really important
Mhm,
because embracing diversity in all aspects,
mhm.
is just a thing that we all have to come to grips with. But how do you think these influences contribute to the broader conversation about race and identity in America?
Um, I always believe that music is supposed to evolve.
Mhm.
Okay, it's supposed to. It goes in cycles. Goes in
Right.
cycles. I don't care if what anybody says. It goes in cycles. What goes
Mhm.
around comes around. It's a part of the evolution of evolving to be the greater version itself, especially in music itself. People always say that um, hip hop became watered down. R&B died. I don't believe that. I still believe it exists. But you know where it exists at? It exists on the underground.
Mm-hmm.
It exists. It lives through all the talented people who getting overlooked in music. There's so many talented R&B singers out there that can blow, that's singing about love. They're getting overlooked. There's so many talented people, such as myself and other talented rap stars that are on the underground. They're getting overlooked. When we developed to what we are in this day and age in music, when it became all ratchet, okay, it's just part of the evolution of evolving. It's just stagnant at this moment. But that's nothing wrong with that because it's a part of its growth. So right now it's evolving and now it's getting back to what's real. And now
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see people like us breaking out of the cave, breaking out of we could have slave chains and the chains and breaking out. And now we're in the forefront. And
Right.
now we're in your faces. Now
Right.
we're making the music that's bringing it back to the truth and what's real, where it's heart and soul felt music. R&B is in your face now. Hip hop is really in your face now. Rock is really in your face now. Now you're seeing the music changing and it's evolving to where it started in the beginning. So it
Mm-hmm.
always has to have change. It's like disco. Okay, let's go back and talk about. I love conversations like this, man. Disco was popular in the 70s. It was the best music ever. It was blowing up and everybody's dancing to it until it got to the early 80s. It was a DJ, I can't think of his name, but he came out in front of the public and was playing the music at a stadium and a baseball, and then started smashing all the disco music. And all the people came out running and smashing disco. It was the end of the disco era. Part of the reason is because the economy started changing.
Mm-hmm.
Black people in America, I'm speaking to you. I hope you can feel me in this, man. The music started changing and evolving. Part of
Mm-hmm.
the reason because economically things were getting bad. It was getting terrible. And people started realizing like we can't be dancing, thinking it's all good when things are all bad. That's where the rise of hip hop come about with people like Melly Man, Broken Glass, everywhere. People pissing in it up. We just don't care. Evolution of hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
evolving and starting from that bit. And that's when you see the narrative
Mm-hmm.
changing to something great in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. It had nothing to do with saying disco was whack. Disco music is dope,
Mm-hmm.
but the evolution
Mm-hmm.
of music was evolving. And the
Mm-hmm.
people at the time felt like all that watered down. It just wasn't. We're not in a place of here. We need a voice of reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's or what we're heading to now in this day and age. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Drake and what's the dude? Kendrick Lamar. That ain't no coincidence. You think
Mm-hmm.
that's a coincidence? These two went at it? No, it's evolution. It's the
Mm-hmm.
narrative of changing of the evolution. It's saying we not with the pop stuff. That stuff too watered down.
Mm-hmm.
Now Kendrick Lamar is trying to say we trying to get back to what's real. And
Exactly.
that's the rise of Decevio and all these great heroes in music. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah. Mhm.
Well,
And that's
also
what I did.
during that time when you mentioned the underground, I think that's when a lot of people didn't realize the evolution of house music because house music too was underground.
Yeah,
And when house
absolutely.
music came out, I mean, it's like it took on a life of its own because it was a different form, a different version of music, but it was a very happy music. And
Absolutely.
so, but those people that never heard it before, when they heard it, it was like it was new. But to those that have heard, like, no, this is old.
Absolutely. Because like you said, it still lived, but it lived in the underground.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It still lived, but it says, see, that's my point. Is that
Hmm.
it never R&B music, all that still lives. It
Right.
still lives. It just lives in the underground.
Hmm.
But guess what?
Yes,
The
that.
rise of that R&B, oh,
Hmm.
it's going to take over. And it's
Right.
going to hit people, and it's going to be new artists. I see an
Right.
artist that's out right now. They're very, very talented. Four men, gentlemen, young dudes. that
Mhm.
Mary J. Blige, shout out to Mary J. Blige. It's I think she signed her to her record label, and
Mhm.
it's Boys to Men. One of the lead singers, I think it's Wanye. Him, his sons are
Mhm.
all four singers, and they are incredible. And
Mhm.
I'm watching myself as we all are raising, evolving. We're
Mhm.
getting ready to be in that forefront.
Yes.
And yes. And seeing that with those guys, these are incredible singers. Harmonizing and all that stuff is coming back, man. But it's gonna come back at that moment, at that right time. It
Mhm.
lives in the underground, but it's gonna be rising from the underground. And that's what I was saying in the moment of you see the narrative change. So all these artists that you see right now, their time is up.
Right.
People don't see it like that. People keep saying, "Oh man, they live bullshit." Their time is up and things is getting ready to evolve, and you're gonna see the greater of new artists that lived in the underground, and we're on the rise, and it's our turn now. See how that works?
Yes,
So
sir.
yes, absolutely.
So, who are your musical and entrepreneurial role models, and how have they shaped your career?
Let's talk about the music, and then we're gonna talk about entrepreneur music. Oh my gosh. As I mentioned before, LL Cool J, one
Mhm.
of the best heroes to me in hip hop. This guy, oh my God. What I loved about this guy, he had swagger. He had
Mhm.
swag and style. The ladies liked him, but he can rap.
Mhm.
And he was dope. And he was hardcore and he was raw. And at the same time, I'm talking about the um, younger LL Cool J back then. He's still amazing, but his younger days when he was hungry, Mama said knock you out. This guy was not playing.
Right.
That guy was, excuse me, a hero to
Mhm.
me in hip hop. A group called X Clan was
Yep.
my favorite rapper ever. Was Brother J, a
Yeah.
lyricist, best MC to ever touch the microphone. That it gets slept on. What I don't know why, because he should be talked about even to this day because he was one of the best lyricists ever touched the mic. His message, his truth, the music was
Mhm.
bang. I'm a West Coast dude. We in the West, we like funk in our
Right.
music. We love
Right.
funk. Dr. Dre, funk. So you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Coolio, we like funk. I
Mhm.
never understood how they didn't get the same recognition as Dr. Dre or any of these dudes because they put nothing but funk, Parliament music in their music. I never
Mhm.
forget one of my favorite songs from Brother J and S Clan was Heed the Word of the Brother. The
Mhm.
beat was like, oh my gosh. Boom, 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 boom. If you listen
It was
to the
vicious.
rap,
It was
oh,
vicious.
oh my gosh.
Yes.
Every time I hear it to this day. Yeah, and then Professor X, may he rest in peace. Socrates, Plato, step
Mhm.
off. Man,
Mhm.
this dude, you can't even grasp the the powerful message and the art and the music that they were but conveying at the time. These dudes was next level incredible.
I have their
Oh my
CD.
God. Yes, I go in on these dudes. Another group, Gangstar. I love Guru. Guru is one of the best MC storytellers and street storyteller in the history of hip hop. I'll never forget. He was one of the first artists speaking about manifestation in the music. These are the words that I manifest. I manifest. This dude was talking about manifestation in the early 90s. I'm thinking in my head, this dude, excuse me, is incredible as an artist. These three artists, LL, S Clan, Guru, a group called Funky Town Pros, and the lead artist is named Boy Wonder. He was one of the slept on artists out of LA, a West Coast artist, and underground, but one of the best albums I ever heard that people, if you can go listen to his music, it's called Funky Town Pros. They're all on YouTube everywhere. Go look this guy up, and his artist name is Boy Wonder. That was his rap name, Boy Wonder. And he spelled it like Boy, B-O-Y. He spelled Boy Wonder. It was sick. The guy was incredible lyricist, man. He's my hero. And also Das Effects. We
Yep.
want to flex
Yes.
Das Effects. These guys, the reason why I love Das Effects is because they were different. They're
Yes, they.
original. They brought something to hip hop in the table of hip hop that was unique and
Mm-hmm.
original.
Mm-hmm.
Another group, this is my last group, PM Don. I like PM Don. They
Mm-hmm.
people think a hardcore rap. No, one of the reasons why I like PM Don is this the same reason why I like Daz Effects. They were original, they were
Mm-hmm.
different, and they were unique. And
Yeah.
one of the best things that I loved about these guys, they sung about love. They
Yes.
remind me of yes, they sung about love and peace. Prince
Mm-hmm.
B, as the lead artist in the group, was a hero to me as an
Mm-hmm.
artist. They were like Stevie Wonder. They sung about love, and that's if you listen to a lot of my music. My music is some of my music is very harsh and it's very real, but it's me speaking the truth, and I
Right.
just tell it like it is. But a lot of my music is about love because I believe in the power of love. So I spread love and peace and that kind of energy in my music to the energy world. So these are kind of artists and acts that I grew up listening to that were very heavily influenced in my music and my life. Excuse me.
Oh wow.
Let me get to the entrepreneur. My entrepreneur greats was my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, my great grandfather, and my grandfather. As I mentioned on the last interview, my great grandfather was an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
He had apartment buildings all through South Central LA.
Mm-hmm.
This man was a genius before and ahead of his time, at his time. In the
Mm-hmm.
1940s, man, it's unbelievable. And that time and era, a black man that had apartment buildings in South Central Los Angeles, where in the 1940s, you didn't see too many black people in sight.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm.
And here is a black man that invested it and had apartment buildings. My grandfather was involved in real estate. He had houses. This dude
Mm-hmm.
had houses everywhere. Remember, I was telling in the last interview how he had me raking yards in these houses that he owned. You know what I mean? So he's another hero. My uncle that I mentioned that was on my father's side of the family, which is my father's brother. He was a hero to me as well. He had his own business. He had a clothing business that he owned, and he was another hero to me. So all three of the people that I'm talking about were my family members, were entrepreneurs and business owners, and they're my heroes. Mhm.
So, what advice would you give to aspiring musicians interested in pursuing entrepreneurship simultaneously?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What was the last thing?
What advice would you give to aspiring musicians
Mhm.
interested in pursuing entrepreneurship simultaneously?
I
That
would
is,
say, I would
and
say one of the key thing is invest, invest into number one key person, yourself.
mhm,
Invest in you. Don't be boo with a fool, man, and put your dollar behind other people because all you doing is making them rich. Put the
mhm,
dollar behind you because if you're gonna bet on somebody, bet on you. Let me say that again, man. I want these people to hear me, man. If you're
mhm,
gonna bet on somebody, bet on yourself. Bet on you. Think about it, man. If you gave a dollar to the next person, what do you think they're gonna do with that dollar?
pass it
They're gonna
on.
turn your dollar into investing in something that's gonna be lucrative for them to have business for themselves. That was the dollar that you gave them.
Mhm,
If you put the dollar in yourself, that dollar can increase to another dollar. And
mhm,
next thing you know, you turn that dollar to $5.
mhm.
Invest into yourself. That's the key thing that I would tell most people in the world. If you don't be an entrepreneur, bet on yourself. That's the key.
How do you maintain your creativity and innovation in both your music and business endeavors?
You got to have to say that again, my brother. I was coughing. I'm sorry. Huh?
How do you maintain your creativity and innovation in both your music and business endeavors?
I key one word: discipline. I have a lot of discipline, man. When it comes down to my creativity, as I talked to the last interview, I never talk about what I do. I just do it. I don't talk about what I do. I just do it. I
Mhm.
just put things out. I surprise people. That's one of the main things I would say as artists, even as an entrepreneur. Don't talk about what you do. Never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Don't do it. Just do it. If you want to make something happen, make it happen. Go out and go do it. I remember that's what I love about rap music. Let's talk about it. Rap music saved my life, brother.
Mhm.
It saved me, man. And let me
Mhm.
tell you how I did. It had so many art at the time that were positive, saying positive music. I'm gonna tell you two groups: a group called Canine Posse, another group called 783.
Mhm.
Canine Posse was Eddie Murphy brother, was a rapper back in the late 80s. And I never forget, they had a song called Ain't Nothing to It But to Do It. See that, brother? Ain't nothing to it but to do it for those who can dance and clap. They making a jam by putting a message in their song. You see,
Mhm.
I'm going with this, brother. It ain't nothing to it but to do it. Stop talking about it. Be about it. Action speaks louder than words. We vibration energies. We're vibration energy, my brother. We move through vibration. We wave energies. Wave energies through our actions, not words. I don't even know why words got even invented. I always thought we communicated with sign languages and vibration energy. I
Mhm.
always could believe when we was ancient pharaohs, we didn't communicate just with conversation. We communicated with each other through vibration, through energy, man. That's what's up. Another thing, a rap group that I like was I mentioned 783. They made a song called "Why." In the song, they said, "Why does a brother kill another for a color of a rag? Why does a brother kill another for?" I remember thinking to myself, "We out here gang banging, and we killing each other over rag, meaning a bandana." That's just weird because I want to clarify that to those who are listening, because people are like, "What is a rag?" Like, rag is a bandana that most gangsters that we use here in California from the left or the right side, which is red or blue, either or. These guys made a song. Why does a brother kill another for? Why does a black man, kill another brother for a color of a rag? This is a message that they were giving us as young kings, as young true pharaohs growing up in the neighborhoods in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? But I took heed of that. It didn't strike a chord the most. It struck a chord with me. And because of that, it gave me the understanding like how I viewed music and how I was going to go be about doing the kind of music I do. So
Mhm.
because of these artists, that's where all this kind of shaped me when I said it saved my life.
Right.
So that's why these groups made that significant, big type of significance in my life in terms of career choice in music and saving me not running the streets and doing these sort of things because these songs are echoing my mind. They were what I said, the soundtrack of my personal life.
Mhm.
So going to Canine Posse, going to 783, all these groups was a good influence. So that's where it comes from.
Okay, and final question for you.
Yes.
Can you share a pivotal moment from your childhood or adolescence that influenced your career path?
Man, I survived open heart surgery. We're going to talk about this, brother. We're going to get into this.
Mhm.
Ladies and gentlemen, people or viewers, if you're listening, I survived two open heart surgery, one as a 6-month-year-old baby, another one at the age of 6 years of age. I had two surgeries at different times. Could you imagine the scare of my mother, what she was experiencing when they telling my mother and my grandmother and my father too that they had to perform open heart surgery on a child. Okay, I don't like to talk about age and years and stuff like that, but the first open heart surgery was performed by a black man in 1970. And anybody go look this up. I'm not capping. Make this is not something I'm making up. In 1970, and I can't think of the brother's name, but it was a brother that performed open. Now, if I was born, let's say if I was born in 1969, I wouldn't even be here.
Mhm.
God is so good. He knew the timing and everything that I was going to be born in, and a year and everything that I was going to be birthed in. My mother cried eternally because to see her own son that they had to perform open heart surgery on this baby. Now I'm gonna tell people one of the reasons why I had this open heart surgery, they found out the bowel. People don't know what bowels are. Those are veins. Bowels, the blood wasn't flowing through. It was closing. That this bowel in my heart, the blood wasn't going through. So they had to perform open heart surgery on this child to open the bowel up to put a balloon in my heart to let the blood flow through for me to actually live. And I also had a heart murmur. And the heart murmur wasn't as bad as the bad bowel that I had. I had to have this second type of surgery at the age of 6 years of age.
Mhm.
My mother just knew that it was it. I was done. But the grace of God, that's what I tell people, man. The grace of God allowed me to still be on this planet. Why do
Mhm.
you think I do music, man? It ain't for my health. It's a story that I'm trying to tell the world and share with the world and inspire the world, to impact the world, to make a difference in the world by these stories alone. By me being a child, almost dying, and my
Mhm.
father, bless his soul, it took him like a train getting wrecked to understand to see that his own son had to go through this bad experience. You see what I'm saying? But cause and effect. We talked about cause and effect. It still yet led me to be around. That's why I understood and know that purpose serves a purpose for me to be in this planet. See
Oh,
that I'm still breathing to this
yes, sir.
day because of the fact that this surgery that took place as a child that could have turned bad if I was born in 1969.
Mhm.
I mean, come on, man, let's get in this, baby. The second thing, surviving a worst car accident that my grandfather was driving because my aunt at the time, at the age of probably 12, her and her friend was teasing the next driver over, probably was a racist person that cut my grandfather off on the freeway as my grandfather lost control of the vehicle and flew off of the freeway.
Oh.
Yes. And the car flipped, rolled over, and landed upside down. The passenger in the vehicle lost, it was a young friend of my aunt's, lost her leg.
Mm.
But I recall in this vehicle, as the ambulance came, busted up the door, they had to break in the door to bust up the door, get us out of there. I never forget my fingers were bleeding, being as young as I, but I walked out though, brother, just with finger blood, but didn't walk out damaged, didn't lose my leg, didn't lose, but God had a protection. This devil is a liar, man. And his goal is to stop me. Why is that? Why are you stopping me? What the hell I do? I'm just some dude like anybody else.
Mhm.
I tell you why. Because just like you and me, many are chose, but a few are chosen. And I'm
Exactly.
one of the chosen, young Pharaoh, and that's what's up. And because of that, being as chosen, I want God has something greater for me. And as a child, I didn't know that. As an adult, I know that. See how that goes?
Yes,
But for
sir.
me to,
And
to for
purpose.
me to survive and still be here, surviving this worst car accident, surviving open heart surgery. I got the scars right here. Let me see if I can get close to this camera. They can see the scar right here,
Hmm.
all the way down 16 stitches.
Hmm.
I'm still here. Praise God be the glory. And God is so good that I'm still here breathing and not done yet. Still finished to complete the task that He called me for, to fulfill the promise that He written for me for, to do everything I was called to do. So that's why that should answer your question as far as the reflection of my childhood into my adulthood to be who I am.
So,
Um,
in closing, do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave our audience and your fans with?
but I say this to one, I say this to all: watch and pray. Any blessings, y'all? Any blessings?
I thank you so very kindly for letting us have some of your time this evening to tell not only your story but to give some wisdom to those that may be needing some uplifting at this point in time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Those that are watching on the YouTube channel, if you will please hit the subscription and notification button, I would definitely appreciate it. We'd like to thank Mr. Decevio for giving us some of his time, for dropping a lot of nuggets for everybody to get some knowledge from and to understand. Until next time, please have a great evening. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. You all have a great evening.
Blessings.